Okay, while they're fixing the slides, Bruchim Habaim, welcome everyone, friends, about to be friends. I'm Willa Perlman. I'm the co-CEO of LPA Search Partners, which is a global executive recruitment firm in the United States, and we focus mostly on EdTech. Recently, together with 3 partners, I also formed a new investment venture capital firm, an impact investment firm called Haskala Partners. And our focus is on Israeli technology companies with value propositions that can scale globally for a positive impact on teaching and learning. Thank you. So, hiring the right people for any size company is a really expensive task, both in actual dollars and in human capital, and with respect to its impact on productivity. For startups, given the high stakes and the low revenue and profit, the cost of hiring can have a monumental impact on success or failure. The average recruitment cost per hire for a small or mid-sized company is about $8,000 per employee. And most executives, senior executives, spend about 40% of their time doing non-revenue producing tasks. The majority of that is recruitment. Onboarding, bringing on a new employee, even if it's done thoughtfully and substantively, will still not result in that employee being effective immediately, and research actually shows that most new employees are not working at full throttle and in an impactful way for at least between 8 and 26 weeks from the time that they come on board as a new employee. So the less time and thought that you put on onboarding, bringing your new employee up to speed, the longer it's going to take for them to carry their weight and the more expensive they're going to be to your company. So the lost productivity that will happen with the time it takes to ramp up a new employee can cost between 1% to 2% of revenue for your company. Here's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about the most important first hires for a technology startup, the role of a CEO in recruitment, recruitment strategies for your board of directors, strategies for successful recruitment, the landmines to avoid when you're recruiting, and aligning your recruitment to strategy and scaling your business, and some of the talent pool challenges for Israeli technology companies that are on our own actually mentioned in the plenary this morning. So the most important first hire, clearly, for a startup is the CEO. And I should say that however uncomfortable this might make you, not every founder of a startup is suitable to be the CEO. And founders of startups who actually realize that they may not be the right CEO are ahead of the game. And they're more likely to succeed than those who don't. Some founders are great in the early stages of a company, but they're not so great when the company scales and needs new skills at the head of the company. The second most important hire is your front-end and your back-end engineer. While some companies try to spend money by hiring a full-stack engineer, my experience is that particularly with technology startups, you're much better off hiring specialists for each. Your front-end engineer should have both coding and product chops with UX experience and design skills, a must. Your back-end engineer is going to focus on how everything works, setting up your systems, from hosting to picking the right programming languages, designing your website. The next key hire is an integrated marketing manager. This is somebody who lives and breathes messaging and content marketing. They should also have a keen sense of design aesthetic and be able to develop the brand for your company. Your last hire or your wild card hire really depends on where you are. If you already have a product, the likely next hire is sales. If you don't have a product and you're working on your product, maybe a product manager. So the role of the CEO in recruitment, I can't emphasize enough how critical it is that as a CEO that you play the key role in recruitment for your company. But most senior executives are really terrible interviewers. So it's really well worth your spending some time to develop some interviewing skills. Most important is to establish a process for interviewing that your company adheres to, everybody adheres to. As a CEO, you should be in continuous hire mode. You know the little black book? It used to be the joke about, men keeping a little black book of people they date or things like that. Well, CEOs should keep a little black book of the talent that they meet along the way. And so that whenever you get to a point with your company where you need something, you're not suddenly looking for talent, you will have already met that talent and know how to reach them. Stay in touch with them, get them excited, and keep them excited about your company so that you're really developing a resource and an actual depository and library of talented people. The other thing is nobody should be hired for your company without your approval, without your having interviewed them multiple times. Do not delegate that responsibility to anybody, even somebody like me, a professional recruiter. Of all the tasks that you should take most seriously, though, is referencing. Most of you are going to have people come to you and say, hey, I know this really, really great person. I've worked with them. They're fantastic, et cetera, and you hire them, and you don't do a reference because your buddy told them how fabulous they were. Don't ever do that. Do a deep, deep dive in referencing. Referencing is the most important thing in recruitment. Your board recruitment. Board recruitment is perhaps even more important than your first 5 hires. Depending on how you're financed and structured, you're going to have investor board members that you can't really choose. But carefully select the others. Do not put your family and friends on your board. You can have an advisory board for your family and friends, but you need a working board, and you need a board that have strategic skills and information and context that you can really work with and that can help you move your company along. Don't hire board members who are not prepared to work. When you're recruiting, make yourself known in the community. As I said, recruit for talent wherever you go. Very important to understand the role you're recruiting for, and when you talk to people, don't just ask them stock interview questions. Ask them questions about the job that they're going to be doing. Really dive in deeply so that you really can understand whether they are suited to do that. For startups, I also recommend hiring what we call T-shaped employees, people who have broad shoulders, who have lots of multiple skills and soft skills, but then have one deep expertise. And interview, as I said, interview for the actual work that they are going to be doing so that you can make sure that they have that. Use the case study approach for second interviews. Give them a problem to solve, a problem that's real, and see how they do with it. And reference, reference, reference. Avoid hiring people just like you. We're all really comfortable with people that are just like us. But in a startup, you want disruption. You want people who are going to challenge you, who are going to bring different ideas to the table. You want people who you trust to have another point of view and make you think differently about things. Also, don't get so excited just because somebody is brilliant. Raw intelligence is not always what it takes to be successful in a company. You need to be able to apply that intelligence. Don't rush to fill a role out of panic. The worst hires are made in a rush. And don't default to consensus. It's wonderful to include everybody in your decision, but at the end of the day, as the CEO, you have to make the call about who to hire. I'm going to move forward a little bit and finish up. Just a second. So the most, Steve Jobs and Jim Collins have said this much better than I have. When you're in a startup, the first 10 people that you hire are really going to determine whether your company succeeds or not. Remember, when you're small, every hire counts so much more than when you're a large company. And as Jim Collins has said, people are not your most important asset. The right people are. Thank you very much.